Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dewald Olivier, the CEO-to-be of the cluster, the RMIC. And if I've said that, I must say that this whole process we will not achieve if we don't trust each other. Now, if you asked me 5 years ago, was it at all possible to have a CEO coming from the Feedlot Association, and I would have said no. So that is an indication where we are now. Now, Dewald is quite a fast guy, but all I can say to Dewald is that we are on your heels. We are pushing you faster, but we are a team, and we like to listen to you.
Dankie Gerard. 'n bietjie Afrikaans. Net so 'n klein bietjie. Ek het slides voorberei, maar soos die mense meeste wat my ken, gaan ek so 'n bietjie nie afwyk van dit af nie. Ek gaan net nie die hele tyd daarby hou nie. Want ek dink baie van wat Gerard gesê het, gaan ek nie noodwendig net herhaal nie, want dit is waaraan ons saam gewerk het. So ek wil graag net 'n bietjie gesels oor dit wat nuut is, dit wat anders is. So vir die mense wat online is, ek dink daar's baie van die amptenare wat deelneem daaraan, dan gaan ek nou weer Engels toe. So thank you Gerard, and thank you RPO for having me here. Yes, we've got a new cluster, and we've created this cluster. Obviously, we had to come together from a position of trust. When I started, and maybe it's fairly recent, in 2018, when I got here, there was a lot of mistrust, miscommunication, and obviously a lot of, and I can say it, bickering with regards to many things within our industry. And within the first instance and the first discussion I had with Gerard, I don't know how he knew it, but he bought me with a pie. With a meat pie, and we sat in those chairs of the National RPO's office, and we had a discussion. And I think we said from the start that if we do not work together, we're going to lose the industry. We have to look at how do we rebuild or build this industry together. We cannot go back in the sense that we look at opposing each other in everything. We've been in a situation, and I'll show you within the RMIF, that there you are. We've had a levy since 2005, and obviously this levy has done many good things. I mean, many good things has come from it, but it's now time to move on. To move on from what has happened in 2005, it's 17 years. A lot can happen. 17 years ago, okay, I'm not going to mention my age, but I was still a very, very young man. I still had hair. No, I didn't. I lost my hair in matric. But a lot of things has changed. And if we're not going to stick to the times, if we're not going to grow together, if we're not going to change, we're going to be the black sheep of the agricultural industry, which to a great extent we already are. When I stepped in, and I can say this again, I'm very blunt with regards to the fact that we kept on taking government to court. We kept on fighting them over things which were not necessary to take them to court. Now, me being a lawyer in profession, which I shouldn't also say very loud, but the only people that win in a court case are the lawyers. I can tell you that because it creates damage. It's damaging to relationships. When we started out, yes, we looked at, and I can say this, 50 Rand, 100 Rand, 150 Rand for a statutory levy per animal. You know what we decided? We need to rebuild trust. For 17 years, we've lost trust. Not only amongst the people whose money we have, but the people who we work with, the people who we operate, the people who needs to sign the export permits, where I still am with the feedlots. I can tell you it's very difficult to today fight in court and tomorrow request a signature on an export permit. Doesn't sit very well. It doesn't work that way. we need to, and that's why we came and we said we need to relook the way that we operate. Are we saying that we are in a laxy-daisy situation where we just say, just go on? No, not at all. It's much more difficult. I say this, and I've said it when I had a practice as well, to sit around the table and resolve issues across the table than to stand in a court. Because a lawyer draws up a summons, he issues the summons, you never see the defendant or the plaintiff, the other side, until you get in court. And you don't even speak to that person. It's difficult to sit across the table and negotiate a favorable outcome for all of us. And we have to now negotiate a favorable outcome for our entire industry. Because we're losing. We're sitting in a current situation which Gerard and everybody mentioned Gerard's with regards to foot and mouth. We've got many other diseases in the livestock industry, but to us, foot and mouth disease is crippling. We could have solved this, my opinion, 10 years ago, if we just listened to each other. We have to work together. I see the guys of the auctions, Anton and Johan. We have to work together. We have to understand that we are a value chain. We have to include each other. Are we going to agree on everything? No. Are we always going to say the same thing? No. But being bigger, a bigger person is to say that although we disagree, we look at the outcome for the rest of the country. So I said there were too many role players. In the RMIF, we had 13 role players, 13 people who made decisions on how we spend 80% of the money that we actually, the people in this room, up until, let's say, the abattoirs, the primary person who created the cluster, people had a say over our money, which actually created a lot of animosity, stress, fighting. There were no focus. Obviously, you cannot service the entire value chain of red meat, as you cannot service the entire value chain of any commodity, unless you like the pork guys. They have their own commodity and own value chain on their own. I said, okay, too much dilly-dally, hanky-panky, crisscross, all of those type of things. It didn't work. And so we said, let's create a company. Now that, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that is I'm thinking of going there. If you look at the red figure there, it includes three things. It includes a person, the biggest asset that we have in our industry, the red meat industry, are people. It includes a person. The second thing is the two pointy horns, which could either be goats, sheep, or cattle, is the second biggest asset that we have. And it looks like, if you look at those two horns intertwining up until the bottom, it looks like those DNA pictures that we see. And to say that cattle and people are in our blood, that is our DNA. And that is what the red meat industry service need to do, is to further that what happens on the ground, where the takkie hits the tar, daar waar die takkie die teer slaan. That's what this company needs to do. Implementation, implementation, and implementation. Quickly, we look at a setup where we've got a director of each of the industry organizations, the RPO, NARPO, the abattoirs, and SAFA. This is just a rough idea of what we said. We're still in negotiations with regards to the memorandum of agreement, because I'll get to that. It's very important. Independent chairperson, and a few, and still in decision, experts. We're going to listen to Dr. Gideon Bruckner later. He could be, for example, one of the experts, which we include in this company as a director, to guide us with regards to OIE, etc., etc. Many things that we're looking at. So we need to look at experts outside of the guys in the coalface who can guide this company. We must remember this company is a services company. It's not an advocate for the RPO or SAFA or the Abattoir Association. This is a service company that will implement. The RPO will do its own. This will continue, irrespective of the RMIS. But the RMIS needs to execute whatever is decided by its board. What is the difference? So we've got far less role players, which makes it easier to make decisions, and it's very much focused on the primary side. Red meat, primary, and livestock cluster. Now, if it's the red meat, primary, or livestock cluster, or it's the primary guys. It's from NARPO, RPO, it's those four industry organizations, and that's what we have. Much shorter. The collection point obviously was a very much needed discussion. Previously, what happened, and I don't think we should go into too much detail, but there was a deduction at the auctions. Whether or not it was a physical deduction or a write-up within the books, we said, let's not do it for the next 4 years. Let's look at only collecting at the abattoir, which means that the value chain will pay for the levy. So there's no more, I pay R5, you pay R6, and at the end of the day we collect R7. What will happen? It's again that bickering with regards to I pay more, I say more, because he who pays says. We've taken that out. As a cluster, we said, and Gerard started with it to say trust. We said, let's trust each other. Let the value chain pay for it. We will have to relook this in future. We will have to relook systems to manage this better. But from the start, we said that we need to break out of what we currently have. We need to build something new. And this is starting something totally new, in the sense that it's one collection point and the value chain pays. All right. And again, it's a collective approach. We're saying that the value chain will pay for the statutory levy. It's not one portion of it pays more, less, etc. We are equal partners. Now that's sometimes very difficult, but at the end of the day, that's the way that we should do it. We are equal partners in the red meat industry of South Africa. RMIS, like I said, is an administrative body, so you must remember how it will work in the future, that we currently have the MSMS, the Meat Statutory Measure Services. That's the company that is the administrative body that manages the statutory levy, collected by the red meat levy administrators. And from 5 November this year, RMIS will be the administrative body. So RMLA will still collect the levies on behalf of RMIS from the abattoirs, but that money will flow directly into RMIS. Okay. And RMIS will disperse. There was a whole list of functions that Gerard listed there. Those are the KPIs that this company needs to adhere to. Now, I've looked at it. It is immense. There are so many things that need to happen. And you said we are 1,000% under levied, if I can say that. We've got a long way to go. However, trust. We need to show the guys, and again, maybe from my legal background, I can say that the people that pays this money needs to understand and regain their trust within the industry role players and the guys that does the work. We cannot continue to promise things and it doesn't happen. The agreement that we have, the memorandum of agreement, is in final stages. So what we've done is, so a normal company has a memorandum of incorporation which sets up the rules. And we said, let us as the 4 role players draw up an agreement what we want to see within this MOI. We're in the final stages of it, and I think within the next week or so we will finalize it and get it done. I'm just waiting. Well, I can't put it on you. I said wait. But we've got an email coming with dates. So then we will finalize it. We've got the inputs of everybody now to finalize that agreement and finalize the MOI. And then obviously it can kick off. Very important, within the first 12 months, we're going to have an audit. So we're going to look at what has happened. So if Koning wants to tell Dewald, listen, through the structures, obviously, I don't like what you've done, we need to relook X, Y, and Z, it can. The RPO and all the cluster members can come together with the board and say, we've lost a little bit of focus, we need to go left, go right. But we've also said, and you'll see the second last one, that the functions will not change within the first 12 months. We'll say it's not just pulling out the throat, killing it, cutting the throat and throwing it away. We need to have consistency. We need to keep it as it is. So the functions that was delivered by the cluster members as it is will continue for the first 12 months. Obviously, there will be some changes. For example, one of the things that we have is we look at the red line area and collaboration with government. We have spent 10 million rand on consumer education on cattle. As so far, I currently receive roughly 10 million rand to do that. What we're saying is we can appropriate those funds much better if we create something, some sort of PPP. It's already there in the RMIS, and collaborate with government and say, how do we contribute? How do we make this better? Because our focus should not be today to spend 10 million rand on getting new consumers. Our fight is now against a virus called foot and mouth disease in our industry. And we need to appropriate it there where we need it the most. Is consumer education important? Yes, it's very important. But we need to manage where we need to spend our money now. In 24 months after that, so 12 in the next 12 months, we're going to have another audit, and we're going to see whether or not we're going to continue with this. So there's a continual process of auditing, in the sense to say that the trust, can we trust each other, which I think we will. I think we've gone very far, and we come very far to trust each other. So the 4 focus areas is also very important. Gerard, you mentioned the 4 focus areas, and let's start with the one that says market access. Sometimes we see market access as international markets. Market access is also local. We sit with the red line area, which we need to look at with regards to what do we do with the animals. Last night I said to some people, we've got plans with regards to how do we get our animals out there. And that is devising strategies for market access. There they are, animal and public health. We should not neglect public health. Okay, we look always at animal health on the one side, and we say it's very, very important. Obviously, it's what we have. But if we look at, and it ties up with the competitiveness and specifically sustainability, and our public health is of the utmost importance as well. We need to implement things, structures with technology. We've got technology. We've got cell phones. We've got programs. We've got technology on our side. We need to utilize technology more. We're being left behind. Inclusive growth, I think, Gerard, you mentioned a lot on that as well. I think inclusive growth to us is a terminology that we grabbed from our honorable president. He used the words inclusive growth. It is growing the cake. It's not cutting the cake in smaller pieces so that more people can have a cut of the cake. It's growing the cake. Growing the cake would mean that we're going to stagnate. We're going to actually shrink if we only look internally. The people in South Africa are hungry. The people in South Africa don't have money. The people in South Africa is not going to have money for a few years to come. We need to continue to export. But we need to do it responsibly. And we need to keep on servicing the consumers within South Africa. So we need to always keep that in mind. We cannot neglect our consumers. The people who trust our product, actually they trust us blindly in what we put on the table. And we need to continue serving them. Market access, I explained, and then obviously competitiveness. And that competitiveness is obviously amongst each other, internationally, and also with regards to other products. We start to see the analogs. We start to see people that create grass type of food, animals, or the food that our animals eat, they create and they serve it up as patties and wors and a lot of stuff. And it's time, and obviously we're fighting for space. We're fighting for space on the shelves of the retailers, and that includes competitiveness in that sense. So it's very, very broad. We should not be restrictive in what we see there. I think, Gerard, yours was a lot more elaborate with regards to what is in there. But in short, it's it. But that is only a start. That is a drop in the bucket of what we can do. Again, I want to reiterate, it goes back to trust. If we cannot be trusted with 42 million rand per annum, we shouldn't be trusted with 300 million. And we need to execute on that to the advantage of everybody in this room, everybody out there who's not in the room, every role player, every participant, every person who sells animals must be part of it. Maybe just from a point of, we're talking about inclusive growth. We've already created a company called Red Meat Industry Transformation, Education and Development, who has already gained a lot of traction with regards to transformation or then inclusive growth, who already engaged with government and specifically AgriCita and got an amount of money to assist us to do transformation. So the fact that we're working together is actually opening up doors. We have limited ourselves in the past with regards to being fragmented. If we work together, if we coincide, if we are in agreement to many things, we can unlock international funding with regards to what we do. I can tell you the fact that we've missed opportunities, for example, with the World Bank, is because we were fragmented. They spoke to SAFA, they spoke to the RPO, they spoke to NERPO, and at the end of the, they missed the RMIA. And you know what? If we just agreed on simple things, we could have unlocked a lot of funding for the red meat industry and specifically our portion of it. Yes, so I'm very excited. I'm in a position and a place where I'm saying that we're going forward. We're moving forward. This is going to be scary. Change is never easy. When I started losing my hair in Standard 9, it was very scary. It's still scary. However, I think it's exciting times. I think we're looking at new ways of doing things. Rudy sitting here from SAMIC side. I think we're looking at new ways. Rachel, traceability. We're looking at new things. One of the things that we have in store, and I think one of the quick wins for our industry is traceability. We're not far off. We're thinking we are. Because we see tags as a stumbling block. Traceability is not a tag. Traceability is much more than this, but it's much simpler than a tag. And we keep on looking at, we're finding problems for every solution. Rather to look at what is easy, the easy pickings. We've got many easy pickings. We've got Karen and Angela here from Design Biologics. We've got the people. We've got the people in South Africa. We've always been saying it. We've got good farmers. I've been on record to say that it is the exception that there are farmers that do not have traceability. They've got it. We just need to formalize it. We've got feedlots, I can say, that do not have traceability. We need to teach them. We've got abattoirs who still need to work on themselves. We've got vaccine manufacturers who've got the knowledge. I want to say something. I think we've got a government that can do the job. We just need to assist them. If we say we work together as a cluster, we need to work together as a value chain. Government are enablers in our value chain. We cannot do it without them. If we think we're going to export and grow by 16%, our exports from 4% to 16% without government, we are dreaming. We cannot do it without them. We need to work together, even on that. And what the RMIS is saying is, where do we participate? We're actually putting our hands up and say, government, we want to help you. But it's not, again, I'm going to say it as it is, it's not the RPO helping. It's not SAFA helping. It's not the Abattoir Association. It's not NERPO. It's an independent organization assisting government without political ties, because I think SAFA can sometimes be political. I don't know about the others, I can't comment, but SAFA can. It's an independent organization that wants to work together with government in a private-public partnership or whatever vehicle is necessary to do what needs to be done, because we're sitting idle, we're sitting on our hands, and while we sit there, we can say it, I can say it. The poor guys are actually doing very well. They're running. The poultry guys are running. The freaking vegetable guys are running. What are we doing? We're fighting because is it yellow tags or is it freaking green tags? So what? Let's put it in and do it. So, yes, I'm very excited, Gerard. Thank you very much. Thank you to the RPO. Thank you, James. I can't see him, but thank you very much for having me. And I'm excited about this new structure. I'm very, very excited that we're going forward. We're changing things. I can tell you also that from the NAMC side, they welcomed the fact that we are working together, that it's not fragmented. Because you must remember, with the current statutory levy that we're having, our transformation projects are fragmented. We've got 500,000 here, 200,000 rand, 300,000 rand. Obviously, that will have much less of an effect if we put 2 million rand together and do something effectively. Or how much do we have? 10 million rand in that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gerard.
Dewald, thank you very, very much. That was good enough to earn you another pie, and it will not be a chicken pie. Yeah, from our side, full support. You can see that Dewald has a lot of qualities, but the one quality you must have in a job like this is to be a people's person, and we know you are that. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but he's not a very busy man, so let's send him a lot of questions, and we'll get the answers from him.